Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Achin Goyal. We are here at CGC Landra. So, Department of Mechanical Engineering. Today we'll be discussing on the fundamentals of mechanical vibrations. In this particular topic, let us see what is the historical perspective of this particular vibrations, mechanical vibrations. Historically, the studies, you will be surprised to know that these things are not new to everyone. Historically, the acoustics was started around 4000 BC, and musicians and philosophers were very known to this aspect, but the perspective was a bit different. They were not into that much scientific study of it. Music, of course, was one of the thing various countries, various nations were into, that is Chinese, Hindus, Japanese, perhaps the Egyptians were the one who were very much into the music, and the various instruments those were being used in the previous era music were called as harps, in which multiple strings were there, as you can see here. So in the present system, it seems that our music has been borrowed from the Greek civilization, and in the Greek philosopher and mathematician, one person was there which is very renowned in itself, that is Pythagoras. And Pythagoras in 582 to 507 BC before Christ is considered to be the father of this particular musical sounds. You can say he studied the things on the scientific basis. He was considered as the pioneer of mechanical vibrations from that point of view. Now let us see that how this knowledge was being involved over the period of time, evolution of knowledge, in which we saw that Pythagoras was observing vibrations in a different aspect, that is from the musical point of view. He studied about the vibrations, investigated the musical sounds in the era of 582 to 507 BC. Whereas Galileo, as you can see here, studied the same thing. He was the founder of modern experimental sciences, and he studied it in 1564 to 1642, and he was the person who was involved in simple pendulums, whereas frequency of the vibrations as well as the length of the pendulum was his concern. So this was purely considered to be the scientific study in itself. Then the era changed, and 1635 to 1703 AD, Robert Hooke played a very vital role in conduction of the experiments, who find the relationship between the pitch and frequency of the vibrations. He studied pitch and frequency of the vibrations of a string. Thereafter, Joseph Sauer in 1653 to 1716 coined a newer term which is used in modern physics and as well as science also, that is acoustics. For the science of sound, he gave this term to us. Then, of course, Sir Isaac Newton, he studied the laws of motion. He gave us the laws of motion within this period, that is 1642 to 1727, and his regular routinely laws of motion were being very much appreciated in the field of mechanical vibrations also. Then came the turn of Brooke Taylor. He studied and gave us the natural frequency of vibrations. Natural frequency he talked about. This is very important term if we talk about the mechanical vibrations, and how he was being the one who studied about natural frequency. Then Daniel Bernoulli, three of the persons were there in the different periods of the evolution. They talked about these terms, that is Daniel Bernoulli from 1700 to 1782, then Jean D'Alemberts from 1717 to 1783, and Leonard Euler. He was the person who gave later on the Euler's equation. So all of them were collectively providing us the partial differential equations of motion with the passage of time. So these are very important findings if we talk about. So moving on to the next slide, let us see that how J.B.J. Fourier gave us the theory of vibrations and possibility of expressing. So J.B.J. Fourier was the person who contributed in the theory of vibrations and led to the possibility of expression maybe arbitrary function, and he also worked on and he also talked about principle of superposition, which is being very widely used in mechanical vibrations. Then Joseph Lagrange, he played his own role. He worked on the analytical solutions of the vibration strings. So the period was 1736 to 1813. So he talked on very important thing, that is analytical solutions of the vibrating strings. Then Charles Coulomb, he did both, that is theoretical and experimental studies in 1784 on the torsional oscillations. So this was the person who worked on torsional vibrations in the initial years of his life. Then EFF was the person who gave us the definitions of the vibrating plate to its mode shapes. So finding the mode shapes in itself is a big task. So this was the pioneer of the work which was leading towards that how can we have the mode shapes available with us. Initially it was being done. Then Simeon Poisson, he worked from 1781 to 1840 and studied the vibration of rectangular flexible membrane. So he was the person behind this finding, that is rectangular flexible membrane was being worked out by Simeon Poisson. Then Lord Baron Rayleigh, of course Rayleigh was the person who was very much involved into fluid mechanics as well as other fields of engineering, but herein the fundamental frequency of the vibration and various modes of vibration were also talked about by this person. So this was also very important finding, and the history evolved in this way if we talk about the vibrations evolution, historical evolution. Now what is the importance? Next step is, what is the importance of studying the mechanical vibrations? Of course, when we talk about hearing, we cannot hear without having the eardrums vibration. If we are having eardrums vibrations, we can hear, otherwise it is next to impossible. Similarly, not for hearing only, for speaking also, for human speech, there are larynges in the human in the human throat, which are responsible for human speech. So those must be very much difficult to understood, but herein it is very much understood that human speech is never possible without the vibratory motion of the larynges, which are there in the human speech boxes. If we talk about the machines, various nuts and fasteners are being loosened out using the vibration. So this is the adverse effect of vibration, we need to avoid it. After that, unbalance in the machines is being caused due to the itself and surrounding machines and environment vibrations. So if we are having a machine available with us and it is getting vibrated, of course it will be causing some disturbance to the nearby machines as well as to the surroundings. Then the periodic forces bring the dynamic responses that can be generating the fatigue in the materials. Similarly, the phenomena known as resonance, this is very important phenomena for all of you to tell me, that excessive resonance can lead to the deflection and failure of various mechanical components. And vibration and noise generated by engines, sometimes you might have understood that vibration generated in engines as well as various machines can cause the damage to various properties as well as mechanical elements. So these are the importances which have been provided here, that why do we need the study of this particular subject as a whole. Then how do we define the mechanical vibrations? Of course, mechanical vibrations, if we talk about theoretical aspect of it, it is defined as the measurement of periodic process, and normally it is being seen in the form of simple pendulum. So if we are having a simple pendulum which is constructed of nothing but a string which is considered to be massless, having a bob at its bottom, it is a ball in itself, and if we are taking it to the extreme position, this is the mean position, if we are taking it to the extreme position, it will be having a tendency to cross the mean position and again reach to the extreme position, and so on. So this type of motion is called as mechanical vibrations. Now, is every periodic motion a mechanical vibration? Is every periodic motion is a mechanical vibration? Not at all. So for having the mechanical vibrations, we must be having 2-3 things available with us. One, it must be having a periodicity. Secondly, it must be having its acceleration of the motion directed towards center or mean position, and thirdly, it should be proportional. It should be proportional to the mean position, that is proportional to displacement. Omega should be proportional to the displacement. So these two things as well as periodicity will be leading towards a motion, to call it as simple harmonic motion, or you can say mechanical vibrations. Acceleration in the simple harmonic motion is always directed towards the mean position and proportional to its displacement. So these two things needed to be taken care of. One, acceleration should be directed towards the mean position and it should be proportional to the displacement, that is this and this. Of course, the first one is periodicity. So we can say that periodicity is not a guarantee to say that every motion which is periodic in nature could be called as mechanical vibrations, until and unless it is having these two characteristics inbuilt in this. So there are certain basic terminologies which are involved in mechanical vibrations and need to be understood very much clearly before we start up with the analysis part of it. So the first and foremost thing, it is the periodic motion. What is periodic motion? The motion which repeats itself after an equal interval of time. The thing is, equal interval of time, if it is repeating itself, is called as periodic motion. It may be motion of a turbine blade, it may be motion of a fan, whatsoever you call it, the motion which is repeating itself after an equal interval of time, it could be linear or rotational in itself, is called as periodic motion. Then what is simple harmonic motion? It is one of the periodic motion, but with an addition that to and fro motion about the fixed point should be there about an equilibrium point. So you can say SHM is one type of periodic motion, and it is, how do we represent this? By the circular and sine and cosine functions. So in other words, we can say that all the simple harmonic motions are periodic, but its vice versa is not true. That is, every simple harmonic motion may or may not be periodic in itself. So all the simple harmonic motions are periodic, whereas all the periodic motions are not necessarily simple harmonic motions. So what do we need to add in it? Two of the characteristics that we have discussed in the previous slide, that is, its acceleration should be directed towards a mean position and it should be proportional to the displacement of it. The third important term in this is time period. So what is time period? It is defined as, you can say, the time taken to complete one complete cycle. For one cycle, the time taken may be in seconds. Normally we do take it in seconds. So what is the time taken to complete one complete cycle is called as time period, and normally we denote it by T, capital T. This is time period. Next is cycle. So what is one cycle then? One cycle is if the motion, it is the motion completed during one time period. If we are having crusts and troughs available with us, that is, we are having this sine wave, and this particular thing can be called as one cycle. No. So if we are starting right from here and this cycle is being completed here, so this particular thing can be called as one cycle. Then the frequency. Frequency is defined as the number of cycles described in unit time. So in 1 second or 1 minute, how many cycles, let it be 1.5 or 2 cycles are completed. So that is called as, this is the frequency, normally being understood analytically in terms of hertz, that is Hz, represented by Hz. Now the next term is amplitude. So amplitude is the maximum displacement. So this is the displacement. If we talk about this thing, the maximum displacement a wave, crust or trough can have, that is called as amplitude of a particular wave. So maximum displacement of vibrating body from its equilibrium position. This should not be forgotten that this is from the equilibrium position only. So if we talk about this wave, we are having this wavelength. If we talk about this point, so from this point to this point, this is wavelength, and this is one complete cycle as we have talked earlier. From this point, if a motion is being started, a wave is being started, and this is completing right here, so this particular thing will be called as one cycle. Okay, so and this distance, that is the distance, maximum distance attained by a wave, is called as amplitude. So next term which is very important to understood in this is mechanical system. So how do we analyze the things? For its proper analysis, we need to understand that what is mechanical system in itself. Mechanical system is any system which must be having, which is having various types of, or you can say mass, stiffness and damping involved in it. So any system which is having mass, any stiffness, any damping element, it is called as mechanical system. Do every mechanical system is a vibratory system? Does every mechanical system a vibratory system? No. Every mechanical system cannot be called as vibratory system, since it must be having at least two of the basic elements involved in it. One is mass and other is stiffness. So necessarily these two systems or elements must be there. Now what is the natural frequency? This is the most important term if we talk about mechanical vibrations. Most important term I would say, that is natural frequency. Rather, this complete subject revolves around natural frequency. This is very important. I will be telling you later on that why do we call it very, it is a backbone of this subject. So natural frequency, before that let us completely understand that what is natural frequency. So when we are taking a system which is having either mass of, you can say 10 kg or so, and a stiffness element, let us say spring. So if these two elements are present and no external force is being applied to the system, just once the system is being disturbed, then the frequency at which this system will execute its motion will be called as its natural frequency. That frequency at which that free vibratory motion will be executing is called as natural frequency, and it is normally designated using the units radians per second, or you can say hertz, and it is shown by symbol normally omega of, or in other words sometimes small f, but with subscript small n, that is omega n, or you can say small fn. Now what is mode shape? This is next important term. What is mode shape? This describes the deformation of component when the vibrating at natural frequency. So this describes the deformation of the component. How does this deformation take place? Deformation is taken place in various modes, but if we talk about its lowest natural frequency, if it is being disturbed and the mode shape is being disturbed with the lowest natural frequency, it is called as the fundamental mode of vibrations. Otherwise, in general, the patterns, the deformation patterns by which a vibratory system is being moving, or you can say getting disturbed when working at natural frequency, is called as mode shapes. Now, what is degree of freedom? This might have been talked about many a times, that what is degree of freedom. Let us once again recapitulate this thing. So degree of freedom is nothing but the minimum, the first and foremost condition is minimum number of coordinates. It is the minimum number of coordinates, rather one important term, independent coordinates. Minimum number of independent coordinates which are required to specify the motion of any mechanical system or vibratory system at any instant completely within the constraints is called as your degree of freedom. Now, if the motion is in one direction, if you can say, let us say, take the example of a piston moving in a cylinder. So that piston is having flexibility to move in one direction only, that is y direction. So that particular piston is having 1 degree of freedom available with it. So if similarly a machine is there, its ram can be moving, can be having a flexibility or freedom to move in two of the direction, that is x or y, and of course it will be considered to have 2 of the degrees of freedom. Similarly, we can have 6 degrees of freedom available with us if it is having entire space available to move on. So this all depends upon that how flexibility we are providing to the system. So that is degree of freedom. So degree or degrees you can say. There is one important term, that is phase difference. This is nothing but an angle between 2 of the rotating vectors representing simple harmonic motion. Let us say we are having 2 of the waves, that is wave 1 and this is, let us say, wave 2. So this is the phase difference. The phase difference is the angle between 2 of the rotating vectors representing simple harmonic motions in time domain, and in other words it can be called as a delay in one motion as compared to the other. So this is called as delay, phase angle. So these were certain important properties, or you can say, these are important terminologies which must be taken care of before we completely try to understand this subject. One more thing which is more and more carrying value, that is natural frequency and resonance. Are these terms carrying a relation between both of them? Yes, of course, there is a relation, natural frequency and resonance. So resonance is that term which is directly responsible for the failure of various structures, and it has also been observed in the past. So if we talk about Tacoma Narrows Bridge, it was a disastrous condition which took place in 1940 due to resonance. Now what this resonance is all about? Basically resonance is when we are having 2 of the frequencies matching together each other. That is, which frequencies? Frequency of driving force when matches with the natural frequency of the oscillating body. That is, natural frequency of the body when matches with frequency of driving force. So if we are, let us say, striking a nail against a structure, so definitely it will be done using some hammer or so, and the frequency by which this nail will be hammered inside that particular mechanical structure must be having a frequency. If that frequency is matching with the natural frequency of that structure, then there is a tendency of that structure to get resonant. And what is happening at that resonance? At resonance point, unacceptable conditions could be there, that is, amplitude of the vibrations could reach to very unacceptable regions. Amplitude could reach very undeterministic and very undesirable or unacceptable limits. So resonance could occur, and this was being occurred. These are two popular examples of resonance when occur. And there were big failures, that is, one is Tacoma Narrow Bridge and other was Millennium Bridge. Although this was being catered out at the later stage, but this could not be saved. Torsional type of vibrations were being induced in it. The vibrations which induced at that particular time were torsional in nature, and the entire structure failed. But in the Millennium Bridge in London, the oscillated structure was having an alarm, and that particular alarming situation was being observed and witnessed in the initial of its months, and that was again then closed and modified to the oscillations, so that it was again open for the public. Now, what are various examples of resonance? If we talk about the first example, very popular example is of swings. When a person is swinging to another person who is sitting on the swing, he or she must be having a tendency to get the workforce to be lessened out. So after a few time, you must have seen that a frequency balance is being set in such a way that resonance is in a way occurring there. So at that particular time, you need not to put much effort. Whereas amplitude of the vibration increasing to those limits, that is, the swing is carrying its own motion directly. In the case of guitars, if we talk about the strings which are resonating to some extent, are the example of guitars wherein distortion is being created using a structure which is called as distorter. Similarly, in the case of simple pendulum, resonance could occur. In the case of radios also, you might be understanding that when we turn the knob or adjust the antenna of that particular radio, what happens? We are changing the natural frequency. What are we doing exactly? We are changing the natural frequency of the receiver. And if we are changing the natural frequency of receiver, to what extent it should be changed? Of course, when the natural frequency of the receiver matches with the transmission frequency of the station. So, two of the things are there. When the natural frequency of receiver matches with the natural frequency of the station, you can say station. In that case, a resonance occurs and you can listen to the selected channel. Another one is MRI. You must have in your life somewhere gone to hospital and you must have seen that particular machine which is called as MRI, that is magnetic resonance imaging, and it is doing what? Basically, it is a non-invasive imaging technology. It is based on resonance also. So this is doing what? This is using certain magnetic structures which are getting resonance, and they are providing certain images which are useful for the analysis of various diagnostics. Thereafter, one more important structure you can talk about, this is called as microwave, and in the case of microwave also, one thing is taken care of, that microwave oven is there. microwaves in that oven are not turned to or not tuned to, it is not recommended to tune it to the resonant frequency of water. In fact, the microwaves generated inside the microwave oven are not really tuned to any particular resonant frequency. Neither it is with the case of water. We are not tuning the natural frequency of the this microwaves frequency is not being tuned up to the natural frequency of water, neither and nor up to the resonant frequency of any of specific frequency. So why so? Since these are broadband in it themselves. Broadband electromagnetic waves contain many frequencies. Now, when we talk about broadband, rather we need monochromatic, that is having one only monochromatic wave, which is nearly single frequency. In order to tune a specific frequency, in the case of laser beams also, the radio waves from simple antennas are monochromatic in itself. Similarly, in the case of microwaves, ovens are not monochromatic. Okay, so up to this point, we just understood the various aspects. If we recapitulate the things on a very fast track, what we have done till now, we have understood that what is the historical evolution of mechanical vibrations, what is the importance of studying the mechanical vibrations, how do we define it, what is the basic terminology involved in it, and what is natural frequency and resonance, and what are the various examples of resonance. We took the example of microwave, radio, antennas, and so on. So in the next lecture, we'll be discussing about that how do we analyze the systems. So I hope that this lecture was quite useful to all students which are interested in mechanical vibrations as a whole. So I take your leave as of now. Thank you very much.